It's a medium-sized plate. The first thing you're going to do is try to figure out how to keep your hands clean. Like, I usually don't even wear gloves. I can see, I can't really tell with these black gloves if I got any ink on me. Once you get it on you, these are at an angle, like in silkscreen they do that too. It forces the ink down in your lines. But it's just straight up, see what it does, and it might ski jump over the lines. So I want it facing down. I wish this was a tiny, tiny plate and the demo would be really quick. Quality of cards matter. Like, some people cut their own cards with an X-Acto knife. They really do everything better that way, especially the second part I'll show you, where you remove most of this ink. They also do this in two directions, like usually the first time you print it, because you don't want a single line that's a broken line. But if you print it 2 or 3 times in a day, you don't have to go in 2 directions every time to make sure you've forced it in line. Just in case, it's like a second time for safety. I always get rid of the paper underneath right away after I've done that. So that's where it might start shredding. Maybe there's a regular paper. Is there a regular barrel there? You get a little. I think I saw one. Let's get a little one we can use. I won't put it in a good one. Yeah. Let's bring a small one over here. Second thing would be to scrape off as much as possible. So you're actually looking to see if one of these is the original cut edge, the mat cutter cut, instead of the one that you cut with an X-Acto knife. You know, like when you cut a mat, it actually uses the razor blade. Those edges will take this stuff off really well. Or if you get the wrong edge, see, that's probably a good edge. See how much came off? If you do the cards right, you're 90% done as soon as you just do this. Because the idea is no ink's supposed to come out of the lines, and this is not a problem as far as doing it. I can see this is a rough edge, so it wouldn't work so well. You want to get a lot off just with the cards. Art Werder used to do 24 by 36 plates, and he'd have 2 of them, but he would cut his own illustration board that he likes particularly, and he would cut it with an X-Acto knife, and then it would just strip it totally clean, like with and then you only have a little bit to do after that. As you can see, we're looking for the edge that was actually the real edge that was cut with the razor blade. It's going to make a difference. The rough edge is just going to push it around a little bit. I'm not worried about a little bit of extra ink there, though. So we do create a lot of waste, but I always figured like it's already a second life for most of these things. That is, this phone book was already saved from the garbage. It already did as much as it was going to do for somebody. And the mat board is also the inside of the mat board that someone was getting rid of. And it's organic, so it's not creating like plastic waste. I sometimes will flip a plate over, and I think we'll do that on this one. Usually it works great on a small plate, because if the idea is not to take any out of the lines, this can also get rid of some of the ink. But you have to move your hand around like this. I've done it where you just push one corner and then that's over wiped, and the rest is kind of lifting up and not wiping at all. So if you do move your hand around, you're going to get a lot more out in a very safe way. Where my fingers are, it's pushing a lot harder on the surface. Also, while it's upside down, it's a good time, all the ink off the back. You're trying to keep it so clean, but maybe some got back there. Now I would be starting to wipe it in earnest. And sometimes I'll even clean the edge early. I have another one out of this. I'll use this. This is the size you use, so you won't want to waste cloth. But cleaning the edge will save you getting ink on your glove. Because sooner or later you might pick it up and forget that there's a lot of clumpy ink right here. You're going to do it more later, but getting it off now is, you can imagine how thick the line of ink would be on the palm of your hand if you picked it up before you did this. Even when I'm wiping it, I might just blop some more ink across the surface when I'm almost done if I don't get it off here now. Now, some people cut this. Like, these look like they're cut with scissors. They say it's less fiber, so I can imagine that's even more professional. I haven't seen too much fiber coming off the yellow pages, but I want about 1/4 of a page. We talked before about, you know, they used to use the palm of their hand, and now we use like the fatty part of several fingers, maybe of 3 fingers. And so the fatty part of your fingers are behind your hand. This would be at least 6 quadrants on this plate, where I can only wipe 1/6 of it. Maybe I'd even have 8. But then what I do is move it around to just enough so my hand stays in the same place and I can get in a groove and move the plate to me. so that I'm just wiping another section. Let's say there's 9 in here, 3 across. One reason it's a good idea to make it in quadrants is so you don't wipe one part 3 times more than another part, because that would never be even. Now I know I wipe this part and I wipe this part the same amount. By the time I'm going to the final part, I haven't accidentally wiped one part 3 times more than another, because even though it looked the same, it might still be lighter if I did that. If I wanted to be even more careful than I usually am, I could count like 6 wipes or whatever. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't do that, but I have a feeling it takes care of itself. You know what I mean? That you have a certain rhythm that you feel like. If it's real repetition and you're wiping a number of plates in the same day, I think you will end up doing it the same. Like whatever feels like a rhythmic pattern to you, 5 wipes. I thought it was interesting, the ACA was a really good college that taught art in Atlanta College of Art, and that they had good printmaking instructors. They were taught to wipe from the center out. That makes sense too. Radial wiping fits like the quadrants. When you're done with the circle, you're done, right? So they would go from the center out. And so I understood what the idea was, but I didn't change my way because I just got used to it. So I remember going somewhere and they were telling me like, you're doing it wrong because you have to hold the plate in your hand. Well, I agree and disagree. You hold it in your hand to finish because you really need to have a good look at it. But if you held it in your hand to begin with, you wouldn't be able to finish nearly as fast because you'd throw it across the room with slapping it the way I would slap it. So now I'm ready to hold it in my hand and we clean the edge, right? So it's easy to do. These rags can be used for cleaning up later. But a lot of times if one of them's in your apron, if you're using it, you always want it at the last thing over there and you're reaching your apron to do that last bevel clean before you print your print. So now we're doing the final wipe. And you're looking for a little smoky area. See the smoky corner? So now you don't have to do the same thing. And also, it's more like you're petting a kitten and it's really gonna cry if you too hard. It's still gotta be across, never down. I still see people that watch my demo go like this. Never a pillow, because that would lift ink out, because it's like a pillow. Always flat against flat, like a rock that really bounces off the surface of the water. It's interesting, the same amount of pressure going straight in would almost push you across a foot forward, but went this way, it hits you pretty hard, you'd barely notice it, right? That's the idea, you're hitting it, but it's grazing it. And you actually see like this kind of rainbow color on it, right as you're about to burst through the plate tone. So sometimes you go farther on specific areas where you want a little bit lighter, where you're wiping with just your fingertip or something. And you'll start to see a difference there where you actually do get through that little rainbow tunnel. But you don't need to go farther than the rainbow tunnel. You were saying you kept wiping, and when do you stop? You stop when the smokiness is gone. As soon as it's consistent, you're allowed to stop. And the differences that are real subtle will not show. Like this is a little darker here than it is right there. Did you